if you look at the title, it suggests notes towards a poem that can never be written. According to the poetess or the poet, she does not call it a poem. She calls it the preparatory notes. However, what is before us is a poem itself. हमारे सामने क्या है? पोम ही है. लेकिन पोएट ने इसको क्या कहा है कि these are simply notes, these are simply memories, these are simply experiences, these are simply drafting material. ये ड्राफ्टिंग मटेरियल है जो कि पोम के लिए होना चाहिए था. लेकिन what is the result? The result is the poem itself. So this kind of contradictory remark or contradictory thing is paradoxical in nature. टाइटल जो है वो पैराडॉक्सिकल. अब टाइटल भी पैराडॉक्सिकल इसलिए भी है because she wants to impress the idea that the place which she belongs to is not very conducive for creating or for composition of the poetry. एक कॉन्सेप्ट आपने सुना होगा, dystopian concept. It's a kind of regressive society where you are not allowed to do anything according to your choice. The state-oriented discourse, state-oriented narrative is so interpolated among the subject that they feel like remaining in a comfortable zone. However, their liberty, their freedom is very much curtailed. लोगों को लगता है कि वो फ्री है, हालांकि वो फ्री नहीं होते. They simply have to do according to the narrative that has been given by the state. State means government. तो ऐसी तरह की regressive society जहां पे आपको एक set formula और एक set rules society के लिए जो abide by आपको करने पड़ते हैं. You have to follow all the rules in order to survive. Otherwise, there is no chance for you to remain in that society. तो उसी dystopian concept को यहाँ पर भी ये express किया गया है. She is talking about Canada. Margaret Atwood hails from Canada and Canada is her motherland. However, Canada is not the place where the people like poets or the poets or particularly the female writers. कम से कम female writers के लिए Canada is not a very comfortable place to write or to express, to say something. Canada can be the land of advancement, technological advancements. Canada can touch the height of advancements and modernism or everything. You can feel everything in as far as materialism is concerned. You can find the world-class medical facilities, you can find the world-class technological developments, advancements, you can find the marvels of architectures, you can find everything in that suggests modernity. However, for the people of the state, for the people of Canada, the things are very comfortable, particularly for the writers, for the people like writers, and then to the female writers, the female poets. For female poets, she does not feel very safe in expressing herself. तो ये जो एक poem है, ये मतलब she had something in her mind before composing a poem. ये कुछ कहना चाहता है. These are some of the things that remain in the mind of the poet or poetess, female poet, before she composes, before she ventures into the poetic composition. इसलिए इसका title क्या है? The notes towards poem that can never be written. Why it is never be written? Because she is in dystopian society where the things are on the one hand very promising. However, as far as human considerations and freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and the voice to the unvoiced people, the voice to the marginalized people, voice for the marginalized people, voice for the oppressed, they are very much restricted. You cannot say what you actually feel like saying. You'll have to say only what the state wants you to say. जो आपसे सरकार चाह रही है या फिर जो सिस्टम चाह रहा है उस कंट्री का, this is what you have to say. Otherwise, there is no place for you to survive there. So you can have the pipeline, you can have the expression in your mind, but you cannot let them out in the form of a poem in this particular place. आपके माइंड में you can have many things. आपके माइंड में बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं, लेकिन since you are writing or you are trying to write in this particular place, So that kind of expression cannot materialize in the shape of a poem or a novel or a short story. So this is about the poem that can never be written. However, what she has said, what we have with us is a poem itself. In stanza first, we can simply feel the pulse of the poet, what she is trying to say, what she has to say about the regressive society in which she has to live. Regressive society where she has to compose. Whether she is free, whether she is completely free to say something, say anything, or not. Or there are many complications for her, there are many restrictions for her, or particularly she represents the class of female writers. तो क्या फीमेल राइटर्स के लिए कनाडा जैसी जगह में जबकि वो बात कर रही है when she was surviving, when she was living, so at that time whether the conditions were conducive for a female writer or not. That's why the title is Notes Towards a Poem That Can Never Be Written. She is trying to weave a narrative, weave some notes. She wants to prepare some notes which could have been written in the form of a poem. However, it was unfortunate that she was not allowed to express herself in the form of poem. Since she belonged to that class of writers, particularly the class of female writers. फीमेल राइटर्स के लिए जो सिचुएशन है वो बहुत ज्यादा कंड्यूसिव नहीं है, बहुत ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल नहीं है. दैट्स व्हाई द पोएम कैन नेवर बी रिटन. दैट्स व्हाई द पोएम कैन नेवर बी मटेरियलाइज्ड, because she has to say something for the oppressed class, she has to reveal the trauma that the people are facing in this regressive society. On the one hand, the society is very much full of modernity and advanced. On the other hand, the human suffering is rampant. The human suffering is widespread. People are not very free to move, free to feel, free to say something. और दूसरे लोगों की बात तो दूसरी बात है. ये जो पोएट, द कम्युनिटी ऑफ पोएट्स, कम्युनिटी ऑफ फीमेल पोएट्स, उनके लिए दिक्कत बहुत ज्यादा है. सो ये शी हैज स्टार्टेड दिस पोएम. This is the place you would rather not know about. This is the place you will inhabit you. Yeah, this is the place, this is the place, this is called anaphora. It is also kind of repetition. Just like refrain is a repetition, anaphora is also repetition. When a certain phrase or certain word, it starts every line. So it is anaphora. Here this phrase is repeated at the beginning of each line. So this is called anaphora. This is used for the metaphorical impact, metaphorical emphasis. This is used for the figurative impact. जो फिगरेटिव इम्पैक्ट है वो लिटरेरी इम्पैक्ट है, उसको क्रिएट करने के लिए, उसको एम्फेसाइज करने के लिए ये यूज किया जाता है. सो दिस इज द प्लेस यू वुड रादर नॉट नो अबाउट. मीन्स आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट अ प्लेस विच यू वुड नॉट लाइक टू नो. एक तरफ means you can feel the dichotomy, you can feel the difference. On the one hand, you feel like going to Canada, settling in Canada, because Canada is full of advancement and technology and the world class facilities and comfort or this or that. लेकिन क्या वो सोसाइटी वहां की रहने लायक है या नहीं? क्या वो मटेरियलिज्म और एडवांसमेंट और मॉडर्निज्म इज सफिशिएंट फॉर ह्यूमन बीइंग टू सर्वाइव? यहाँ पे उसको वो क्लियर कर देना चाह रही है कि भी दिस इज द प्लेस परहैप्स नोबडी वांट्स टू नो अबाउट. ये ऐसा ही है कि बेहतर होता कि ये ना जानते इसके बारे में. It would be better if you did not know, if you had not known about this place, because this place is not worth living in. So you would not rather know about. This is the place that will inhabit you. However, this place has a very large heart. You can inhabit here. You can reside here. From the humanitarian point of view, whether this place is worth living, whether for a poet, if you are a literature, so is it a right place for you to express yourself? Because a poet or a literature is the one who observes the manifestations of society, government and systems. And if there is some unwholesome thing, the poet or the writer seems like or feels like exposing it. क्या वो जो unwholesome उसके सामने हो रहा है उसको expose करने की freedom यहाँ पर है या फिर नहीं है? तो यहाँ पे यही है कि this will inhabit you, you can reside there, but are you free to express yourself? This is the place you cannot imagine. From the far end, this place seems to be the land of dreams, but
you can never imagine what kind of place it is actually. अपने मतलब एक मदरलैंड के बारे में ऐसा कहना मतलब it is not very comfortable for the people. However, she has to say because she is a poet and she belongs to the poets community, for the poets community, and that to the community of female poets. Things are not very comfortable. Things are not very promising. उनके लिए चीजें जो है बड़ी मतलब promising नहीं है, बहुत ज्यादा conducive, comfortable नहीं है. They cannot feel at home when it comes to express themselves. तो कम से कम आप इमेजिन भी नहीं कर सकते what kind of place it is. From the far end you can feel means a dream-like place. This is the place that will finally defeat you, where the word why, there is no place to say why, means you cannot ask questions. This is the place which will not allow you to ask questions. If something evil some you happen to observe, you are not free to share. You cannot raise your voice against this unfailing or unwholesome thing. आप क्यों मतलब, और जो क्यों होता है ना, क्यों के लिए कोई जगह ही नहीं है. The only thing that is allowed is to say yes. Yes for everything. Whatever situation is there, you have to simply nod your head. To agree, you have to accept, you have to acknowledge. Why? There is no place for whys. जितने भी why होते हैं, आप क्यों सवाल नहीं कर सकते वहां पे. और ये ऐसी जगह है कि आपको फाइनली यू विल फील यू विल एंड अप बीइंग डिफीटेड. आपको लास्ट में ऐसे लगेगा कि यार कुछ नहीं हुआ आपका, आप डिफीटेड होकर के रह गए. यहाँ पे उसी तरह की बात कर रही है कि वो आप चाहोगे भी, आप कोशिश भी करोगे, लेकिन यू विल एंड अप गेटिंग डिफीटेड. अल्टीमेटली आप डिफीट होकर के ही रह जाओगे. सो वेयर द वर्ड वाई श्रिवल्स एंड एम्प्टीज इटसेल्फ. श्रिवल्स मतलब क्या है? श्रिंक हो जाता है. द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ वाई, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ रैशनैलिटी, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ इंक्विजिटिवनेस, जो आपकी इंक्विजिटिवनेस होती है, जो आपकी क्वेश्चन आस्क करने की जो इंस्टिंक्ट होती है, अंदर से एक नेचुरल फीलिंग आती है क्वेश्चन पूछने की, वो क्या हो जाती है? श्रिंक हो जाएगी. श्रिंक होकर के खत्म हो जाएगी. इट विल श्रिंक इटसेल्फ सो मच एज टू लूज इट्स एग्जिस्टेंस. इतनी सिकुड़ जाएगी, इतनी कि उसका अस्तित्व ही खत्म हो जाएगा. किसका? why का. The word why does not exist and cannot exist in this particular state, in this particular society. This is famine. Famine क्या होती है? Scarcity of food, particularly यहाँ पे for everything. So here she has compared this place to a famine or famine-ridden state. Though there are no scarcities in materialism or materialistic things, however, famine can be considered in as far as the scarcity in expression. You cannot express anything according to your own choice. You cannot express yourself completely when the things are not comfortable for you. So she has compared Canada or her motherland or her native place to a famine-ridden place, a famine-stricken place. Now, in the second part of the poem, there is no poem you can write about it. It means this Canada. Poem refers to, poem or literature is a reflection of life, both constructive and destructive. And a poem can reflect this life in both the ways. However, in Canada, you cannot write a poem. You cannot write anything in which your inner voice finds an outlet. And if you are a female writer, so the things are worse for you. This is what she has felt over the years. As far as writing poetry is concerned, in this place, in this society of Canada, the things are not very much promising. The conditions are not very much promising. So you cannot write a poem about it. The sand pits where so many were buried and unearthed, the unendurable pain is still traced in their skins. Those who have tried to write something, express something in any way, the things have never been easy for them. So the pain, the traces of pain can be found from their dead bodies if you try to unearth them. Unearth means you dig it out. If you try to dig the bodies out from their resting places, you can still find the traces of the pain that they underwent. They underwent during their life, during their lifetime, when they were living and then they were trying to express themselves. So they had to undergo immense pain. So that pain can still be felt from their dead bodies if they are dug out. So the sand pits where so many were buried and unearthed. The unendurable means intolerable pain can still be felt by the, or the traces of that pain can still be found on the bodies of those poets or the writers or the people who try to express themselves in any way, and then their expression happened to be against the society, against the government, which cannot be the case here in this Canada. कम से कम ये चीज यहाँ पे टॉलरेट नहीं की जा सकती, यहाँ पे इसको नहीं किया जा सकता. This did not happen last year or 40 years ago, but the last week. Actually, this has been very recently. Very recently, the things have taken a U-turn. Very recently, the things have taken a very different shape. Very recently, the things have started going towards a different direction. Canada had never been the same. इस तरह से नहीं था ये. द कंट्री इस तरह की नहीं थी जहां पे आपको बहुत ज्यादा रिस्ट्रिक्शन, बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स हो अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए. ऐसा कभी नहीं था. हाउ एवर नाउ द थिंग्स आर वर्स. और ये बहुत साल पहले की बात नहीं है, 40 साल पहले की, 50 साल पहले की बात नहीं है. दैट टाइम कैनेडा वाज अ लैंड फॉर, अ फ्रूटफुल लैंड फॉर द पोएट्स, and any person who happened to feel something for the people could raise a voice against any injustice, could say anything, and then the things were easy for them, if even if it was a female writer. But very recently the things have started taking very difficult shape. So ये अब आकर के जो totalitarian government है, जो traces of that colonialism can still be found in the society. The authority of Canada, the authoritarian government of the Canada have started taking that very same regime in practice. So this has been happening. This happens. We make wreaths of adjectives for them and we count them like beats. Adjectives of them can refer to the notes. The notes that she has been preparing for composing a poem. The notes that were in her minds. The expressions or the things that were in her minds. She wanted to express her agonies. She wanted to express her pains. She wanted to raise her voice for the oppressed class, suppressed class, marginalized class, or the voiceless people. And then she has been forming the notes she has been preparing. But these notes have been as intensified, just like the series of recitations. They have been full of adjectives. She has beautified those notes with adjectives, means beautifully. She has arranged them beautifully. She has tried to create beauty in those expressions so as to compose them or form them in the form of a poem later on. But they remain as such. Nothing works, nothing happens. These notes remain the notes only. They can never be materialized in the form of a poem. पोम की फॉर्म में वो शायद मटेरियलाइज हो ही नहीं पा रहे, बिकॉज नो, द थिंग्स आर नॉट कंफर्टेबल, द थिंग्स आर नॉट कंड्यूसिव फॉर देम. They remain what they are. The woman lies on the wet cement floor under the unending light. Needle marks on her arms put there to kill the brain and wonders why she is dying. Now, she has tried to express the image of a woman dying because of lack of conducive atmosphere to compose. Now she has tried to express an image of a woman writer particularly, who has been trying to compose, who has been trying to express herself. Nevertheless, she did not get the enough opportunities to express, and that's why she is dying. Now the country is witnessing the death of the female writers. It may be actual death or it may be the virtual death. Virtual death means when you are not free to say what you feel like saying. So your expressions, your talent goes waste. वो बेकार हो जाता है, खराब हो जाता है उसको अगर मौका ना मिले. तो this is what is happening with the female writers of Canada, and she is among them. She has visualized her own death. She has visualized the death of so many young female writers of the country who had tried, who were trying to express themselves, who were trying to raise their voice against the totalitarian government. However, their voice was suppressed. They were stopped. They were silenced. So now she has created an image of that woman. The woman lies on the wet cement floor under the unending light. Though the light is unending, but the things are wet. Just like on a wet condition, you cannot feel comfortable. If the floor is wet, so you cannot sit for a length of the time, you cannot feel comfortable. So that woman, for her, that situation, outward situations are means seemingly wholesome. Means the light is there, but the conditions are not. Needle marks on her arms put there to kill the brain. Needle marks, matlab restrictions are there. So many restrictions are there before she can express herself. The skill of thinking has been shriveled, has been constrained, has been simply prevented from doing its business, doing its job. To kill the brain and wonders why she is dying. The woman is not in any position to understand why she is dying, why she is dying virtually. She is trying to say something, but her voice is suppressed. And this is resulting in her death. She is dying because she said. Said means said something, composed a poem. Saying something in this totalitarian government is a death itself. Saying something against the government, saying something against the colonized mentality driven people, saying against something, the authority, saying something against the stakeholders in this particular regressive society is death itself. This is what she is feeling. ये death उसको भी feel हो रही है. So उसको पता भी नहीं है कि क्यों आखिरकार she is feeling a death like situation. She is feeling the sensation of death, though it is not a physical death. However, the virtual death is more ferocious, more fearful, more horrifying, horrendous for her than the actual death. She is dying for the sake of the word. This word means the word she wanted to express. This is not simply a word. This is a word she wanted to express. Means this poem. This poem she wanted to express, and this word is being prevented. This word is being taken out of her expressions. Now the people can be heard saying that you can say anything, but you cannot say anything against us. Though you are free to say, but you cannot say anything which goes against our sovereignty. तो ये किस तरह की फ्रीडम हुई जब आपको आजादी भी है और आजादी इस तरह की है कि अभी कंडीशनल आजादी है. You can say, but not against anything, against us, against the monarchy, against the sovereignty, against the stakeholders, against the patriarchy, against the authority. So what is that? Freedom. So it is her body, silent and fingerless, writing this poem. So she has so many things in her mind, but she does not find enough strength to let those ideas be expressed through his pen. Uski the fingers seems to be shriveling. Fingers seem to be trembling. Fingers seem to be feeling the burden of that authoritative or totalitarian government. The fingers feel the pressure. The finger feels the burden. Or fingers feel the restriction before they say anything. The pen is not working. The fingers are not working. The ideas are simply there in the brain. They are not getting out in the form of a poem. That's why these notes remain the notes. They could never be materialized in poem. That's why she says her body remains silent and her fingerless writing this poem. When she is writing this poem, so her body feels numb, quite numb, क्वाइट विदाउट एनी विगर, उसकी बॉडी को भी ऐसा लग रहा है कि वो कोई जान उसमें नहीं है. इट रिजेंबल्स एन ऑपरेशन बट इट इज नॉट वन. वन मीन्स दिस ऑपरेशन. Not despite the spread legs, grunts, and bloods, it is a birth. Now, the composition of a poem. Composition of a poem has been compared to the birth. The painful birth of a child. This poem is just like a child. Birth, यहाँ पे जिस तरीके से एक बेबी की जो बर्थ होती है, the birth is very painful. Only a lady, only a mother knows how much pain she had to undergo before giving this birth. The same kind of pain, the same kind of grunt, the same kind of pressure, the same kind of fear, the same kind of trauma. The poet is feeling. So this resembles an operation. This means the process of writing. It means the process of writing this poem. In this regressive society, it is being compared to an operation, cesarean operation, where a woman has to take so much pain. But it is not the one. I mean, it is not the one. It is similar. It is similar to that operation, but not it is an operation. However, the pain, the grunt, the screaming, the screams, and the trauma and the postpartum effects, they are always the same. Even though the birth has been there of the poem, but just like the postpartum effects, the postpartum trauma that a woman undergoes after giving a birth to a child. So the poet also feels the same kind of traumatized condition, trauma, after composing this poem. If at all she had, अदरवाइज उसको लगता नहीं कि किसी पोम को कंपोज किया है, लेकिन फिर भी अगर लगता है कि पोम कंपोज की है, सो दैट कंपोज्ड पोम इज नॉट द वन शी वांटेड टू हैव. और उसको कंपोज करने में वो जो प्रेशर, वो जो पेन, वो ट्रॉमा उसको फील करना पड़ा है, दैट इज इनएक्सप्लिकेबल, दैट कैन नॉट बी सिंपली टोल्ड इन वर्ड्स और एक्सप्रेस्ड इन वर्ड्स इजीली. So not despite the spread legs, the grunts, the blood, means this is the scenario in actual operation of childbirth. However, it is not the case with this composing of poem, but the trauma, the pain is the same. The postpartum effect is the same. The inexplicable, the excruciating pain is the same, because she does not know what would be the future of this child means this poem. इस पोम का कोई यहाँ पे लगता नहीं कि it has a promising career, promising future, particularly in this regressive society. So partly it's a job. It अगर अब poetry compose करनी भी पड़ रही है, so it seems to be a routine work. Job means routine work, means composing a poetry for its own sake. ऐसा लग रहा है कि composing a poetry for her has been composing a poetry, nothing else. She is not free to express what she feels like expressing. If at all she is free to say something, so the narrative, the pre-prescribed narrative has to be repeated. The discourse that has been given by the state, उसी को अगर या उसके फेवर में अगर बोला तब तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज वो कोई कंपोजिशन आपके अलाउड नहीं होगी. So it is simply a job. It is a simply of skill. मतलब if you are composing a poem but you are not allowed to say from your within, so that poem will be the piece of art, piece of skill, not the piece of your within. Just like the composition, the poet की composition भी क्या होती है, उसके बच्चे जैसी होती है, उसकी एक it is a brain child. Composing this poem without the real expression of the soul, it's just like a display of skill. तो एक ये स्किल की तरह है और कुछ नहीं, एक ये सिर्फ आर्ट की तरह हो सकता है. स्किलफुल एक प्रोसेस आपको पता है, मतलब हाउ टू कंपोज अ पोम, बट दिस इज नॉट द एक्चुअल कंपोजिशन. लाइक ए कॉन्सर्ट, जस्ट लाइक ए कॉन्सर्ट वेयर यू आर पेड. एक पेड कॉन्सर्ट में आपको बताया गया है कि भाई यू हैव टू प्ले दीज इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एंड नथिंग एल्स, यू हैव टू एंटरटेन. Whether you feel like from your within or not, whether you want to express which you feel from your within or not, that does not matter. It can be done badly or well, they tell themselves, partly it is an art. So this poem is a poem, it is an skill, it can be badly or done well. It can be expressed well or worse. It does not signify. लेकिन it is not a poem that can come from your within. Next, the facts of this world seem clearly are seen through tears. Why tell me then there is something wrong with my eyes? Now, she asked the questions to the society people or the regressive society. कि यार, why do you say something? And why do you ask to means first when I say something you don't feel like accepting it, and then you blame me. So the facts of this world seen clearly through the tears. Through tears means opaque. जो भी दिखता है वो that is not very clear, that is not clearly visible, that is not shown clearly. It is not seen clearly, it is not shown clearly. Why then tell me there is something wrong with my eyes? So अगर मैं कुछ ऐसा दिखा रही हूं, so you blame me that your observation is not clear. Your observation is faulty. The things are not faulty. Your observation is faulty. If I happen to tell something which I feel like observing or which I feel like expressing, so this is blamed. You blame me for that. To see clearly and without flinching. Flinching matlab avoiding something or feeling fear. Avoiding with fear. Without turning away, this is agony. The eyes taped open 2 inches from the sun. ऐसा लगता है कि you ask me say something which I don't want to say. You ask me to express something which I don't want to say. You want me to say what you want to hear. तो फिर वो तो ऐसा लगेगा कि एक एगनी है मेरे लिए, एक टॉर्चर है, which I'm not favorable or I'm not comfortable in. So what is it you see then? It is bad dream, a hallucination. अगर इस तरह की सिचुएशन है तो मेरे लिए वो क्या है, एक इल्यूजन है, मेरे लिए क्या है, बैड सिचुएशन है, मेरे लिए एक ट्रॉमा, एक ट्रॉमेटाइज सिचुएशन है. इफ आई हैव टू एक्सप्रेस माई सेल्फ इन दिस काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन. इज इट अ विजन? व्हाट इज इट यू हियर? द रेजर अक्रॉस द आईबॉल. रेजर अक्रॉस द आईबॉल मीन्स द ऑडियंस इज गिवन अ नैरेटिव टू सी द थिंग्स लाइक. एक means the readers or the audience. Readers are conditioned to see the thing. पहले से बता दिया गया है कि भाई you have to see the things like this. There is no other point of view. The only point of view is the point of view that we have expressed, nothing else. So what is it you hear? The razor across the eyeball is the detail from the old film. ऐसा लग रहा है कि आपने मतलब we have been put on a gun point and then we have to see the things. So what we'll see? We will be able to see what you want us to see. तो फिर तो हमें यही होगा कि जो हमें कहा जा रहा है कि this is the only thing you can see, will see. ये एक hallucination की तरह है, एक horrifying dream की तरह भी है ये. Witness is what you must bear. Means मतलब the only thing that is for you is to remain a witness of whatever is happening outside. आप सिर्फ विटनेस बने रहिए, देखते रहिए और कुछ नहीं. आप कहने के लिए अलाउड नहीं हो. You are not free to say what you feel like saying. In this country you can say what you like, but because no one will listen to you anyway. It is safe in this country. You can try to write the poem that can never be written. This kind of poem can be written. But since you are not allowed to say, allowed to feel, allowed to express, according to your own choice, so in this country is a safe place. अगर आपको लिखना ही वो है जो वो चाह रहे हैं, so this is very safe place for you because you don't have to think from the within. आपको सिर्फ बाहर से सोचना है, बाहर से देखना है. ऑब्जर्वेशन भी आपकी कंडीशनड है, पहले से प्लान है, प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है, उसी को सोच करके आपको प्लान करना है या फिर पोम कंपोज करनी है. सो दिस इज द कंट्री, दिस इज अ फेवरेबल कंट्री फॉर यू. ये आयरनिकल वे में कहा जा रहा है कि भाई ऐसी तरह की पोएट्री कंपोज करने के लिए तो ये कंट्री फेवरेबल है. द पोम दैट इन्वेंट्स नथिंग, दैट एक्सक्यूजेस नथिंग. इस तरह की पोम होगी वो जिसमें कुछ नया नहीं होगा, जिसमें सिर्फ रिपीटेटिव होगा, जिसमें सिर्फ वो बात जो ऑलरेडी कही गई है उसी को रिपीट करना होगा. सो इट डज नॉट इन्वॉल्व एनी इन्वेंशन, एनी क्रिएशन. इट इज नॉट एन इंजेनस पीस ऑफ आर्ट. आपकी ब्रेन चाइल्ड वो नहीं होगा. व्हाट यू ऑब्जर्व फ्रॉम योर विदाउट विल बी शोन थ्रू दिस पोम. तो ये बड़ी इजी कंडीशन है आपके लिए यहाँ पे कंपोज करने के लिए, बिकॉज यू इन्वेंट एंड एक्सक्यूज योर सेल्फ ईच डे. आप अपने आप को एक्सक्यूज कर देते हो कि यार छोड़ो, you don't have to see from this other angle, so let it remain the same thing. Elsewhere this poem is not invention, elsewhere this poem is, अब ऐसा लग रहा है कि the poet is dead, the poet is dead. But if you are writing, if you are composing the poem elsewhere, मतलब any other place, कम से कम ये poem is not a poem, this poem is not a poem if it were written elsewhere, something somewhere else, where the conditions are different, where the conditions are fruitful, where the situation is fruitful for you, where you are not living in a regressive society, where you are not restricted to feel, to think, to express, जहां पे आपको फ्रीडम है, तो वहां पे से कम इस तरह की पोम नहीं लिख सकते आप. मतलब ये दिस वुड नॉट बी द रिजल्ट, दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रिस्क्राइब्ड और प्लान्ड, पहले से ही जो नैरेटेड विजन, वो रिजल्ट नहीं होगा. एल्स यहाँ पे फिर वो एनाफोरा है. Elsewhere this poem is not invention, elsewhere this poem takes courage, elsewhere this poem must be written because the poets are already dead. Elsewhere this poem must be written as if you are already dead. कम से कम दूसरी जगह ये इस तरह की पोम को कंपोज करने की जरूरत है. Now she has expressed a need to compose from the within. Now she has expressed the need for the poets to feel from their within and express what they feel, what they feel like expressing, rather than what they are told, what they are conditioned to write, conditioned to express. rather than वो जो उनको कंडीशन दी गई है उसके बजाय क्या है कि उनको जो अंदर से फील हो रहा है उसको लिखने की जरूरत. As if you are already dead, as if nothing more can be done or said to save you. Elsewhere you must write this poem because there is nothing more to do. So elsewhere मतलब not at this place, not in this country, not in this place, you are free. Because you are not free here in this place, but if you were to write this poem, compose this poem anywhere else, so ये नोट्स नहीं होते. ये नोट्स को क्या कहते हैं, पोम में कंपोज करने के लिए, कन्वर्ट करने के लिए ये प्लेस, दिस इज नॉट ए बीफिटिंग प्लेस और suitable place to convert your notes, convert your ideas into poem. Because the poet is already dead. Here the poet is already dead. Here dead means virtually dead. Her or his, particularly her freedom और हर इंस्टिंक्ट, जो इंस्टिंक्टिव कंपोजिशन होती है, वो यहाँ पर एक कंफर्टेबल जोन में नहीं है. यहाँ पर उसके लिए फ्रूटफुल कंडीशन नहीं है जो कि एक क्रिएटर को, एक पोएट को होनी चाहिए. द काइंड ऑफ फ्रीडम दैट द पोएट इज गिवन, द काइंड ऑफ चॉइस बेस्ड फ्रीडम दैट इज डिनाइड हेयर. यहाँ पर तो एक फीमेल पोएट के लिए थिंग्स आर नॉट वेरी वेरी कंड्यूसिव. वो यहाँ पे उनके लिए सबसे ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट है, सबसे ज्यादा टफ है. तो दिस पोम कुड बी रिटन एल्सवेयर बिकॉज यहाँ पर तो इस तरह के नोट्स को पोम में कन्वर्ट करना बेकार है. अगर कुछ हुआ भी, अगर ये पोम कंपोज भी हुई तो कैसी होगी? इट विल बी द फॉर्मेलिटी, इट विल बी द फॉर्मेलिटी फॉर इट्स ओन सेक, इट विल बी द पोम ओनली फॉर द नेम सेक. It will not be the poem which the poet feels like expressing. It will not be the poem which the writers feel like expressing. It would not contain the ideas that they feel like from their within. क्योंकि उनको अपना मन मार करके वो लिखनी पड़ रही होगी. तो एक ऐसा विजन है सोसाइटी का जो कि मार्गरेट एडवुड ने यहाँ पे एक्सप्रेस किया है. Though she has said, she has called these lines notes, but they are in the form of a poem before us.